They arrived on a crisp autumn Friday afternoon, the low sun burning gold through the maples that lined Willow Bend Drive. The Martinez family, Miguel, a city firefighter, Elena, an elementary school teacher, Sophia, their 19-year-old daughter training as a paramedic, and Mateo, their 12-year-old soccer-obsessed son, pulled into the driveway of the pale yellow bungalow they'd rented sight unseen. Inside, they found hardwood floors and wide windows, a blank canvas for their hopes, a fresh start after years living in rentals near the noise of downtown, dreams of safe streets where their children could bike and play. For 2 weeks, they greeted neighbors at mailbox clusters and school drop-offs with warm smiles. Miguel hung a wreath on their door. Elena planted marigolds along the front steps. They joined the PTA, volunteered at Saturday cleanups, and even hosted a small taco and piñata gathering in their yard, complete with papel picado banners. A handful of families waved. Most kept their distance. Whispers drifted, "People like them don't belong here." Some cars slowed past the house, then rattled their windows closed in hasty retreat. On Tuesday, the PTA president approached Elena with a stiff smile. "We've noticed your family attends different evening events," she said. "Perhaps it would be better if you stuck to activities on your side of town." Elena's heart sank. "We're just trying to belong," she answered gently. The woman's smile never reached her eyes. By Thursday morning, a crude sign appeared on the Martinez's lawn. "Go home, we don't want you," scrawled in black spray paint. Mateo found it first, his face blanching as he read the jagged letters. "Why do they hate us?" he whispered, clutching his sister's sleeve. Miguel knelt beside him, brushing a hand through the boy's dark curls. "Some people fear what they don't understand," he said quietly. "But we're not going anywhere." That night, they slept with flashlights under their pillows. At dawn, Elena found the front door chained from the outside, a second sign taped to the glass. "No Latinos allowed." Their mail spilled onto the porch. Neighbors' cars crowded halfway across their driveway, blocking any exit. A knot formed in Elena's stomach, not of fear but of indignation. She called the police, but the dispatcher said only that an officer would get to it when they could. By noon, 20 onlookers had gathered on the sidewalk, phones out, filming the family trapped behind a fortress of hatred. Inside, the Martinezes tended to each other. Sophia knelt by Mateo's side, drawing comic book shields on a scrap of cardboard. Miguel cleared a space on the kitchen table, laying out pancakes and scrambled eggs. Elena turned on soft music, Spanish guitar melodies drifting through the rooms like a balm. They spoke in hushed tones. "We've faced worse," Miguel reminded them. "Remember Puerto Rico when the hurricane hit our neighborhood? People found new strength together." Elena nodded. "Yes, and we saved neighbors, trapped under beams. We found hope amid broken walls." Sophia raised her head. "Then we can find hope here too," she said, voice determined. Mateo gripped her hand. "I'm not scared," he declared. "I'll draw more shields." They all smiled, resolve hardening like steel in their chests. As afternoon shadows stretched long across the lawn, a sudden commotion erupted down the block. Smoke curled above the roof of Mrs. Langley's house, just 2 doors down. Flames licked the soffit beneath her eaves. A panicked voice called for help. "Somebody, please, my husband's still inside." The crowd shrank away, murmuring and murmuring, "Call 911. Let the professionals handle it." But no one moved. Through the living room window, Miguel saw the blaze. He turned to the locked front door, testing its chain. It held fast. Then he sprinted through the back hallway, every window sealed. But the side door stood ajar. The wind had blown it loose. He yanked it open, his turnout coat already in hand. "Stay inside," he shouted to his family before bolting across the lawn to the burning house. Elena's heart pounded. She grabbed Sophia's emergency kit backpack, tossed in gloves and bandages, then followed her daughter around the side. Mateo trailed behind, clutching his shields. They raced through the back alley, wading through the dry leaves and garden hoses that snakes along the ground, and emerged at the backyard of the besieged house. Miguel kicked down the back door. Smoke billowed into the kitchen. Flames crackled along the ceiling, threatening to collapse the rafters. He shouted, "Over here!" and charged in, the heat searing his face. Neighbors craned from across the street, their earlier hatred burned away by fear. They watched, frozen. Behind him, Sophia and Elena donned gloves and masks from the backpack. They followed him into the foyer and found Mr. Langley pinned beneath a fallen beam, smoke choking the air. Elena knelt beside the old man, her teacher's steadiness guiding her. "Sir, I'm a paramedic in training," she said, voice calm. "Stay with me. We're going to get you out." She checked his pulse, then signaled Sophia to help lift the beam. Together they heaved, dust billowing, until Mr. Langley could crawl free. Suddenly, a roar of collapsing wood echoed above them. Miguel yanked his father's arm. "Now!" he yelled, ushering him toward the door. Elena shepherded Mr. Langley through the kitchen as Sophia pulled a ladder from the porch roof, handing it to two startled neighbors. "We need a second escape," she cried. One neighbor snapped out of shock and propped the ladder. Another rose to help. In moments, the Langleys were on the roof, crawling down to safety as the house belched flame and ash. Across the street, neighbors darted forward. Emily, the mail carrier, shed her helmet and grabbed a garden hose. "Help!" she screamed, and several others rushed to her side. They sprayed water on the smoldering siding, working to temper the blaze until fire engines finally gulped through their sirens and screeched to a halt. When the last embers died, the Martinez family emerged from the alley. Miguel covered in soot, Elena's hair frizzed from smoke, Sophia's paramedic uniform streaked with ash, and Mateo's shield drawing smeared but intact. They gathered around the Langleys, now wrapped in blankets, and held them close. Neighbors gathered too, some with tears in their eyes, none still holding signs or chains. The local news vans arrived, and cameras swung toward the scene. The anchorwoman approached Miguel first. "Sir, how did you manage to save your neighbor's life?" Miguel steadied his voice. "I'm a firefighter," he said simply, "and a neighbor. We all live here together. We help each other." She panned to Sophia and Elena. "Your family risked everything. What do you have to say?" Elena smiled gently. "Fear can trap you behind closed doors," she said, motioning to their battered bungalow. "But courage opens them. We're here to stay." In the days that followed, everything changed on Willow Bend Drive. The spray-painted signs vanished overnight. A group of families organized a block party in the Martinez's honor. Piñatas and soccer drills, home-baked empanadas alongside apple pies, children of every color running free. The PTA president handed Elena a bouquet, her eyes shining with remorse. "I'm sorry I suggested you stick to the other side of town." Elena accepted it with grace. We all belong everywhere. The city awarded Miguel a medal for valor. Elena received a community service award. Sophia's paramedic partner publicly praised her quick thinking, and Mateo's soccer team renamed themselves the Bulldogs of Willow Bend, in tribute to the bravery he showed. Shields of paper held aloft like banners of hope. In their living room, the Martinez family placed the awards side by side on the mantel. They had come to this street hoping for a place to call home. Instead, they discovered a community that nearly shut its doors, but ultimately threw them wide open. And every evening as they sat together on the front porch, the maples above them glowed amber in the sunset, they knew. Real heroes aren't born from privilege or prejudice. They're forged in moments of danger, compassion, and the unwavering belief. That home is not a place you find, but a family you protect. The breeze off the river had turned crisp now that winter was closing in, but Willow Bend Drive hummed with warmth whenever the Martinez family stepped onto their front porch. Snow-dusted maples arched overhead like grand, ancient sentinels, their branches still heavy with the glow of holiday lights. Inside, the scent of cinnamon and fresh coffee drifted out through the wide windows. Yet outside, the real magic was in the dozens of scarves, gloves, and hats hanging on the neighborhood coat rack by the stoop, a spontaneous lending station that had sprung up after the fire rescue, stocked with every size and color by neighbors who'd once scrawled hate on their lawn. Miguel tilted his head toward the street as a group of uniformed firefighters tromped past, responding to a smaller chimney blaze down the block. He recognized half of them by name, friends he'd grown up with, now colleagues, and waved. They waved back, smiles bright beneath their helmets. A year ago, such camaraderie would have been unthinkable. Today it felt as natural as breathing. "Elena," he called, slipping an arm around her shoulders. Snowflakes drifted down, landing on her braid. "Don't you have a holiday concert at the school tonight?" She laughed, her breath forming a little cloud. "Yes, first graders singing carols in Spanish and English. The PTA is welcoming everyone with hot cocoa in the gym. Want to come?" He nodded. Wouldn't miss it. At the school that evening, the gymnasium was awash in twinkling lights and paper snowflakes. Sophia, now a certified paramedic, employed by the county health service, stood in the sound booth next to Mrs. Alvarado, the music teacher, handing out lyric sheets and offering encouragement. Mateo, holding one of his cardboard shields, had taken on the role of greeter, welcoming families from every corner of town. He thrust his shield toward arriving guests with a proud grin. "Welcome to our Winter Harmony concert," he said, voice brimming with confidence. "Come in and be safe." Inside, the first graders formed a semicircle on risers, brown eyes shining, faces alight with excitement. They sang a medley, Jingle Bells in English, then Campana sobre Campana in Spanish, their tiny voices weaving together seamlessly. Elena sat front and center with other PTA members, her hands folded in her lap, tears shining in her eyes. Naomi Patel, the PTA vice president who'd once told her she didn't belong, sat beside her, tears of pride in hers. After the final note, the crowd erupted into applause that rattled the rafters. Back on the porch that night, as they walked home under street lamps, glowing like sentinels, Mateo whispered, "Daddy, remember when that lady locked us in our own house?" His tone was half mischievous. "Now look at us. Everyone's helping us before we even ask." Miguel ruffled his son's hair. "That was hard," he admitted. "But you all stood strong. You trusted in goodness." Elena reached down to squeeze Mateo's hand. "And goodness is everywhere," she said. Sometimes you have to shine a light for people to see it." Within days, the town council invited the Martinez family to serve on a newly formed Community Unity Committee, charged with turning their block's transformation into a district-wide model. Miguel chaired the safety subcommittee. Elena oversaw cultural events. Sophia organized emergency response workshops for residents. And Mateo, now 13, led a youth ambassador program, teaching other kids how to be neighborhood heroes, complete with cardboard shields and first aid kits. Their first official committee meeting was held in the municipal building, a cold, modern space of concrete and glass. Seated around a long table, they listened as the mayor, once distant and aloof, offered a warm welcome. "Your bravery that autumn day did more than save lives," she said. "It inspired an entire city to rethink what it means to be neighbors." The agenda was ambitious. A spring Garden of Cultures festival featuring food booths from every ethnic club. Monthly open doors nights where residents could tour police, stations, firehouses, and the very school where Elena taught. And a fund to retrofit older homes for senior citizens and families in need, ensuring that no front door ever again needed to be barricaded. As winter thawed into spring, the first festival took shape in the public park. Colorful tents blossomed across the lawn. A Puerto Rican pastelon stand, an Irish soda bread table, a Somali sambusa cart, and, of course, a booth offering Elena's churros con chocolate, alongside blueberry pancakes from the local diner. Sophia demonstrated CPR on oversized mannequins. Miguel led charred wood workshops on basic fire safety, and Mateo orchestrated impromptu games that drew children from every background together in laughter. When the local paper sent a photographer, they captured a moment that would become emblematic of the change. Miguel handing a plate of pastelon to his longtime neighbor, Mr. Whitman, the retired banker who'd once avoided a loan application from the Martinezes. Both men's eyes were wet with laughter and understanding. Below the photo, the headline read, "From Barriers to Bridges, How One Block Rewrote Its Story." That summer, the family took a trip back to Puerto Rico, a chance to reconnect with roots and attend a festival in their hometown. But even there, their reputation had preceded them. Journalists from the island's newspaper interviewed them about their work back home, and local officials asked Elena to lead cultural awareness workshops for relief volunteers. It felt surreal. The same hands that once painted hateful signs were now shaking theirs in gratitude. Returning to Willow Bend Drive in late August, they found a new mural had been painted on the garden wall across from their house. Bright splashes of teal, amber, and rose, depicting children of all appearances holding hands beneath a banner that read, in Spanish and English, "Together we thrive." Underneath, in neat cursive, someone had added, "Gracias, Martinez family." Standing together beneath the mural, the four of them, now bonded more firmly than ever, felt the culmination of a journey they never imagined. Elena squeezed Miguel's arm. "Who would have thought a sign of hatred would lead to this?" He smiled, watching Sophia and Mateo pose beneath their image. "We did," he said quietly. "We believed in us." And as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with the same golden hues that had greeted them when they first arrived, the Martinez family knew their story was still unfolding. But now was a story not of exclusion, but of endless invitations, a testament to the idea that home is not a fixed place on the map, but a promise made and kept between neighbor and neighbor. It wasn't long before the Martinez name became synonymous with hope and renewal throughout the county. In the months after the mural appeared, a steady stream of invitations arrived. Speaking engagements at neighboring towns, feature stories in lifestyle magazines, even a short documentary crew that followed them for a weekend. Filming the family, preparing tacos at dawn for the weekly soup kitchen, racing from one community meeting to the next, and laughing around their kitchen table as they plotted new ways to bring people together. By the following spring, their battered yellow bungalow had been renovated, not by outsiders, but by volunteer crews organized through the Community Unity Committee. One Saturday, Elena stepped onto the porch to find her neighbors from every house on the block gathered with power tools and paint rollers. Mrs. Whitman, once reserved and proper, stood on a ladder, carefully edging bright teal trim around the windows. Next door, the Salazars, immigrants themselves until last year, were teaching Mr. and Mrs. Patel how to hang a flowering trellis. Children darted through the yards, trailing paint-splattered hands behind them. Inside, Miguel was supervising the installation of a small library box by the front gate. "Take one, leave one," read the gold-painted sign, as copies of bilingual storybooks slipped into the cubbies. Sofia and Mateo arrived just as the last screw was tightened. Mateo immediately tore into a copy of Esperanza Rising, while Sofia handed out bookmarks she'd printed at her paramedic station, each one bearing the number for the local crisis hotline. And underneath, a simple message: "You are not alone." That evening, the Martinez family hosted an open house block party. Long folding tables groaned under home-cooked tamales, rice pilaf, empanadas, and spring rolls. A makeshift stage held the town band alongside a mariachi ensemble, and even the high school choir performed a choral mashup of "Lean on Me" and "Somos el Mundo." As dusk settled, strings of lights cast a warm glow over 50 or more families. Dancing on the sidewalk, the rattling drinks of ice and lime punctuating each beat. It was here, standing between his wife and children, that Miguel realized they'd done far more than rescue a single neighbor. They'd rewritten the story of their entire street, turning fear into friendship, suspicion into solidarity. He cupped a paper cup of limonada in his hands and raised it in a silent toast to the night. But life, as always, moves forward. That summer, Sofia graduated paramedic school with honors and accepted a position at the county's busiest emergency dispatch center. She spent her first month training new recruits, her calm voice speaking into the radio whenever a call crackled through. Despite the stress, she found joy in knowing that every life she guided from crisis to care carried with it the Martinez legacy of empathy and action. Elena, meanwhile, launched a community literacy program in partnership with the local library. Every Wednesday evening, she led free reading circles for children whose parents worked late. She recruited volunteers, retirees, college students, even the PTA president who once told her to stick to half the town, to mentor kids in phonics and composition. By autumn, the program's waiting list stretched into double digits. Mateo entered ninth grade at the county's new magnet school, where he found a diverse student body and a robotics team eager for his leadership. He coded prototype rescue drones, unmanned aerial vehicles equipped with thermal cameras, drawing inspiration from his father's firefighting expertise. When he demonstrated them at the state science fair, both teams and judges hailed them as the most promising civilian application of drone technology. Though he didn't place first, several local NGOs reached out, asking how they could deploy Mateo's design in search and rescue missions across the county's remote woodlands. And Miguel? He was promoted to lieutenant that winter, earning commendations for both his bravery and his work reorganizing the department's community outreach initiatives. His proposal for a firefighter fellowship, pairing fire crews with vulnerable neighborhoods for preventive safety classes, was adopted statewide, and he traveled to Sacramento to present at a public safety summit. There he spoke not only as a veteran of the line, but as a neighbor whose own family had once been barricaded from home. His message was simple yet powerful. Public safety is a two-way street. Trust and respect save as many lives as hoses and hydrants. In the Martinez household, celebrations came at a gentle pace. Birthday cakes replaced press conferences, and Sunday mornings returned to quiet coffees before church. But the undercurrent of purpose never waned. One chilly December afternoon, Elena found her husband curled up on the couch, reading a grant proposal for a nonprofit they were founding together, Bridges of Willow Bend, designed to underwrite community building projects in underserved areas. By night's end, they had sketched a 5-year plan, funding mobile tutoring vans, neighborhood-led public art, and cross-cultural apprenticeships into the margins of their journals. The nonprofit's first pilot was in a remote agricultural town 50 miles east, where growing anti-immigrant sentiment threatened to fracture an otherwise close-knit community. The Martinez team traveled there over a 2-day weekend, setting up pop-up cafes where migrant farm workers and longtime residents traded empanadas for apple pie and stories of harvest. They co-hosted soccer tournaments, bilingual poetry slams, and simple potlucks, using the same take-a-book, leave-a-book library boxes that had flourished at home. By Monday morning, one local council member reported a 60% drop in hate incident reports, attributing the turnaround to a warm cup of coffee and genuine conversation. Word of their success circulated quickly. Then came an invitation from the state governor's office to attend a summit on rural revitalization, a newspaper profile in The Atlantic, and finally a short TEDx talk in San Francisco, where Elena closed her remarks by holding up one of Mateo's cardboard shields and declaring, "When we shield each other with kindness, every barrier becomes a doorway." On the day of the TEDx event, the Martinez family stood backstage in a narrow green room. Mateo passed, adjusting the remote for his drone video. Sophia reviewed her speech notes. Miguel polished the brass medal pinned to his lapel, and Elena smoothed the skirt of her teal dress, the color a quiet nod to her daughter's hijab and to the hue that had come to symbolize the family's journey. As Elena stepped onto the red circle, she looked out at the packed auditorium, faces reflecting the sparkle of stage lights. She began with a story of the yellow bungalow, the spray-painted sign, the barricaded door. She spoke of fear and of courage, of what it meant to be locked in and later welcomed in, of the simple dignity owed to every human being. Then she invited the audience to stand. "Please," she said, voice firm yet gentle, "reach out your hands to the person beside you, to the one you've never spoken to before." Hesitant at first, the crowd complied, hands lifting and locking in a wave of connection that rippled out like a living tapestry. When the standing ovation finally subsided, Elena allowed herself a brief, fragile moment of triumph. The knowledge that a single act, everyday people opening their doors instead of slamming them shut, could echo far beyond a single street. She returned backstage to be greeted by her family's embraces, the weight of love stronger than any medal or citation. Years later, the original bungalow still stood at 42 Willow Bend Drive, now painted a cheerful yellow-teal hybrid, with an official historical plaque commemorating the day the doors opened. Tour buses rolled past, carrying students from around the region to learn how a family's refusal to be pushed out became a blueprint for inclusive, resilient communities. But for the Martinez family, all those accolades paled beside the simple ritual they cherished most. Sunday brunch at Café Lumière, where Emily, now head manager, greeted them by name, placed their favorite table by the window, and served 2 steaming lattes with perfect leaf-patterned foam. The couple always lingered afterward on the sunlit sidewalk, leaning into each other as students practiced for their marching band across the lawn, and distant traffic hummed along the boulevard. "What will they write on our plaque next?" Elena mused one quiet morning, watching the light catch the swirls of steam above her latte. He smiled, squeezing her hand. "The next chapter," he said, "because homes are never finished. They're built every day by every open door."